All right, let's talk about cybersecurity. Today, we're going to demystify this whole complex world. We're stripping away the jargon and giving you a straight up field guide to the threats that are, lurking all around us in our digital lives. So let's just dive right in. But first, I have a question for you, and it might sound a little weird. What on earth could dinosaurs possibly have to do with protecting your computer? Yeah, it turns out a lot more than you'd think. Imagine this massive, brutish dinosaur trying to cram itself through a regular-sized door. It's not smart, it's not sneaky, it's just pure brute force blocking the way so nobody else can get in. Well, that in a nutshell is what we call a denial of service attack. Just overwhelming a system so the real users, the people who are supposed to be there, can't get through. And don't worry, we're going to meet a few more of these digital dinosaurs as we go. Now, to understand how to actually fight these beasts, we have to start by accepting a really fundamental truth about our digital world. And that's all about the myth of perfect security. So here it is, the first rule of Cybersecurity Club. A completely 100% perfectly secure system, it's unachievable. It just doesn't exist. You see, security isn't some destination you finally arrive at. Nope, it's a constant, ongoing process of managing risk. So with that in mind, let's get our terms straight, because you hear these words thrown around all the time. A threat is just the possibility that something bad could happen. Think of it like a dark storm cloud on the horizon. An attack, on the other hand, well, that's the lightning strike. That's when someone actually tries to exploit a weakness. So one is potential, the other is action. Big difference. Okay, so now let's try to get inside the mind of an attacker. What are they really trying to do? What do they want? And what kind of tools are they using to get it? Well, what an attacker wants usually boils down to a few key things. They might want to read your private stuff. That's a breach of confidentiality. Or they might want to change your data, messing with its integrity. Or maybe they just want to destroy it or block you from getting to it, which is our dinosaur at the door again, a denial of service attack. And how do they pull this off? Well, they've got a whole bag of tricks. They might try masquerading, basically pretending to be someone you trust. Or they could pull off a man-in-the-middle attack, where they secretly wedge themselves right into your conversation and listen to everything. Session hijacking is kind of like jumping into the driver's seat of a car that someone else already started. And privilege escalation, well, that's when they manage to turn their guest pass into an all-access VIP backstage key. So let's keep going and take a closer look at the different species of malicious software, or malware, that these attackers use. Welcome to the hacker's menagerie. First up, we've got the classic Trojan horse. And just like the story from ancient Greece, this kind of malware disguises itself as something totally legitimate. You know, a free game, a useful little program. But once you let it inside your digital walls, bam, it unleashes its nasty surprise. Way, way sneakier than our big dinosaur friend. And then there's this nasty piece of work, spyware. This stuff secretly installs itself on your computer and acts like a private eye for a criminal. It can watch everything you do, log your keystrokes, steal your data. It can even turn your computer into a zombie that sends out tons of spam. In fact, a huge chunk of all spam email comes from regular people's computers that are infected with spyware. And here is one of the toughest, meanest beasts in the entire menagerie, ransomware. This is basically a digital kidnapper. It gets on your system and locks up everything you care about, your photos, your documents, all of it, using powerful encryption. And then it demands a ransom, usually in crypto, to give you the key to get your own files back. It is armored, it's formidable, and it's an absolute nightmare to deal with. And here's the really crucial point to all this. What started out years ago as maybe pranks or little science experiments by curious hackers, well, it's morphed into a sophisticated, multi-billion-dollar criminal industry. The motivation isn't just curiosity anymore. It's all about profit and power. So how in the world do we defend ourselves against this whole menagerie of threats? Well, the answer isn't some single silver bullet. It's about building a digital fortress, layer by careful layer. You see, real effective security is built in layers, just like a medieval castle. It starts with the physical layer. I mean, literally locking the door to the room with the computers. Then you've got the network, which is like protecting the roads leading to the castle. After that comes the operating system, the foundation of the castle itself. And finally, you have the applications, the rooms inside the castle that you actually use. Each layer needs its own unique set of defenses. This shows a really critical idea. Every single one of those layers faces different kinds of attacks, so each one needs its own specific defense. At the physical layer, you have guards and locks. At the network layer, you use things like data encryption to stop people from eavesdropping. It's a whole chain of defense. I mean, it doesn't matter how strong your app security is if you've left the front door to the building wide open, right? And holding all of this together is a golden rule that was written way back in 1974, but it is more relevant today than ever before. It's called the principle of least privilege. And the idea is actually really simple. Don't give any program, or any person for that matter, more access than they absolutely need to do their job. So if your photo editing app is asking for permission to see your contact list, you should probably ask why. Limiting privilege is all about limiting potential damage. But okay, even with the best fortress and all the best rules, there's one more critical factor we have to talk about. And honestly, it might just be the most important one of all. I'm sure you've heard this saying before, but in the world of cybersecurity, it is the absolute gospel truth. You can have titanium walls and armed guards, but if you leave just one little window unlocked, the entire fortress is compromised. And sometimes that weak link is just a simple, tiny mistake in the software code. A little bug, something called a buffer overflow, which is basically like trying to pour a whole gallon of water into a pint glass and having it spill everywhere. That little mistake can create a crack that an attacker can use to bring the whole wall down. It's this constant game of cat and mouse. But here's the real twist. For all the talk about sophisticated code and complex malware and digital fortresses, the single most common, most exploited vulnerability in any security system is the human being using it. It's us. And this is exactly why. Attackers use sneaky tricks like social engineering and phishing emails to fool us into just handing over the keys. They count on us using weak passwords or the same password everywhere. They prey on our trust, on our curiosity, on our tendency to make simple mistakes. I mean, why bother trying to break down a heavily fortified door when you can just convince someone on the inside to open it for you? So that really brings us to the final thought here. In this massive, complicated security chain, all the technology is just one part of the puzzle. Every single person who uses that technology is a link in that chain. And so the real question this leaves us with isn't about firewalls or software. It's a personal one. Are you a strong link, or are you the one that might just break the chain?